Artists and artwork have always been an integral part of the NAIT Nugget. The art was especially important in the days before the NAIT student newspaper was even officially named. It was not until the third issue that the paper would be titled The Nugget, and not until the fifth issue on September 15, 1964, that the first photograph was featured. Once photos began to be used, the paper switched to a simpler format of mostly just words and text, with a lesser focus on artwork. From editorial cartoons, to comics, to advertisements, to even subtle design features in the papers, the Nugget was always about more than just text and photos. Starting around 1968, readers could see how the Nugget was changing with the times. Art styles and content became more subversive and reflective of the shifting political climate and social climate of the time. The early 1970s displayed similar styles and commentaries as the late 1960s. The 70s began the trend of artwork being sparse in some years, while others were filled with hand-drawn work. This decade also saw the rise of unique logos for the Nugget, which would generally reflect the popular design movements of the time. Finally, the 70s also saw the introduction of syndicated comics in 1978. It was 1978 that started an era for the Nugget that would run until around '82. This was a bit of a drought for artwork in the paper, and the art was generally more realistic than the more outlandish styles that would come in 1983 and onward. The mid to late 1980s was a bit of a renaissance for artwork in the Nugget. Once the 1990s rolled around, the Nugget once again experienced a major shift away from the hand-drawn art of the past. The focus once again went back to photos and text with the rise of digital art. 1995 and 96 saw a noticeable resurgence in the use of hand-drawn art, with a few artists making frequent appearance in the papers. Heading into the new millennium, the traditional artwork once again became less common. With the ease of access to digital art and the frequent scanning resolution issues, hand-drawn art was few and far between. Syndicated editorial cartoons became a staple of the 2000s. The mid to late 2000s saw a new crop of artists, sometimes with image quality issues themselves. As expected, the prevalence of traditional artwork will likely not be seen again. However, the 2010s still presented great examples of contributors' creativity throughout the decade. With the 2020s having just begun, there are already examples of the work being done. While the content and style of the Nugget has constantly shifted, the importance of the artwork has always remained. There would be boom and bust cycles, but artists continued to make their presence seen and brought diversity and creativity throughout the 57 years of the student newspaper.